Click the bell icon to get latest videos from Ekeeda.
Hello friends. As usual, we talk about customer service skills again because at the end of the day, that's something that has to be an attitude, which should be full of gratitude. Friends, every one of us work in some or the other corporate or company. In those corporate and company, there is something that is very, very common, which is customers, as we all know. Now, we as employees, how do we treat a customer and why is customer service so important for an employee? Today, in this video, we are going to discuss a lot about customer service skills which are really important for employees. That has to be like your daily attitude and not your job. It's not a job, friends. It's an attitude that you have to build up whenever you're working for a job. So friends, let's take this video on a ride to understand what are these skills which are so important for every employee. Friends, we normally take customers very lightly. I have been a trainer in a lot of corporates, and whenever I go to these corporates for trainings, the first thing that an HR or anyone asks is please start with behavioral skills. Now, why does this happen? I've been training a lot of corporates, a lot of companies. Wherever I go, I see one very, very common thing, and very surprisingly, I see this thing majorly in small companies. Corporates, of course, it is always there, but even in small companies, which is very surprising for me, that I see that every time I go, people always think about success in a very small way. When I see employees working in an organization where they do not really understand what success means. Now, a completely customer-oriented industry would need the people to behave in a way the customers want to. That's the reason I always say it has to be your attitude. And if attitude is gratitude, then it is definitely possible to encourage your customers to buy more. That's how you also encourage selling skills. Now, when I go to the management, they complain to me all the time that why don't you focus on our staff? And our staff needs a lot of training on how to behave interpersonally. So what I end up doing is I end up taking the interpersonal sessions where I feel that the most important sessions, if it is a customer service industry, it has to be customer service skills for the employees. But that doesn't happen, friends, because majority of the time we keep on fighting against each other in some way or the other, and then you need a trainer to handle the interpersonal skills. Also, conflict resolution. My trainings for conflict resolution are hit. That's because we actually do not focus on the customer at all. Imagine if every industry and every employee starts focusing more on the customers, we do not have time for conflicts at all. So friends, today's topic is very, very important because it'll give you an entire idea of how an employee should behave towards a customer. Friends, believe me, if you start focusing on these ideas and these tips that I'm giving you, we have total 12 ways of being the best at customer service for every employee, which is like a rewarding tips that I would give you today. Believe me, you do not need interpersonal skills. That you need because we are not focusing on customer service skills. So friends, let's get started on these various skill sets that you can impose on your customers to impress them, to make them come back to you, and to make them yours forever. It's also a rapport building that you have to create at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I feel more than the purchase, the customer should remember your name. He should go home and say, oh yes, I was treated by Karishma. She is wonderful. That's how it has to be. So let's get started. The first and the foremost, the most important part of customer service is to understand what a customer wants. The customer's needs has to be most important. If your customer doesn't get what he really requires, you fail in your customer service, which is a very black mark on your credit. Friends, aggressiveness is in everyone's nature, but something that is not in everyone's nature, lately I've seen, is patience. That's the first and foremost topic, I would say, which I would like to discuss on customer service skills, which every employee should impose, is patience. Friends, when I say patience, I don't really mean you keep mum and passive. What I really mean by patience is that you will meet a lot of customers in the entire day. Some customers are wonderful, they are very lovely. These are the customers which you remember for a very long time. They built a rapport with you in such a way that you cannot forget them even if you leave that job. Many customers also get back to you after the job. So even if you're gone somewhere else, you pull the customer there. It happens, and it is very, very natural. Now, these are the customers who you remember. But at the same point of time, there are also certain customers who are very rude, very aggressive, very rigid, and are very, very short-tempered. Now, these customers are a challenge to every employee to handle with care. A simple customer can be handled with a lot of love and care, but when it comes to a very aggressive customer and a very short-tempered customer, that is a big challenge for every employee. But if you handle these customers with a lot of patience and a lot of calmness, kindness, I am 100% sure these customers are your lifelong customers. They will never go back to anyone else. Now, these are the customers who would remember your name rather than you remembering those customers' name. And that's what is done. Now, that what is I call a perfect customer service gesture. Patience being the best virtue in life, always remember, friends, it's not only for customer service, it's for everything in life. Without patience, you cannot achieve anything in life. So my first and foremost advice is you have to be patient, especially when you're dealing with most aggressive customers, someone who is not a very easy person to handle. That's the first tip. Let's move on to the second one. Friends, the second most important part of customer service as an employee that you should have is being attentive. Attentiveness is also very important. By only keeping patience, that doesn't help if you're not attentive. You might be having a lot of patience, but you're not attentive at the end of the day. So, being patient, you are also passive then. But we are not supposed to be passive listeners. We are supposed to be active listeners. Here is when active listening will play a very important role. Friends, you would have seen in my listening skills that I have an entire topic on active listening. I would want you to go back and listen to those videos of mine of listening skills where I talk about active listening, what is it all about. This is the right time to act as an active listener more than anything else, because that's how you can be attentive to your customers. Friends, whenever you're listening to a customer, we normally have this myth, or we say that listening is very difficult. How can I be attentive? I'm not able to listen to the customer only. I get tuned out. I get bored. I prejudge the customer. So many times this happens, and then we goof up in a lot of things. Now, why does this happen? Simple. It is a simple reason that we have made our listening very, very difficult. Friends, I'll give you a small example. Can you talk in front of the mirror continuously for 3 to 4 hours? It's impossible. I know when I'm talking in front of the camera for 3 hours, I feel I'm done. I can't talk more than that. So definitely, friends, go home today and try talking in front of the mirror for 3 hours continuously without taking a break. You would realize that you cannot do this. But at the same time, we go to a theater to see a movie and we quietly enjoy the movie for 3 hours without speaking a word. Now, what are we doing for those 3 hours is we are listening. So, listening is more simple and easy than speaking. Speaking is far more difficult than listening. Listening you can practice for a longer period of time, whereas speaking you cannot. If you see the standardized chart, it says that we can maximum speak 500 words in a minute, but we can actually listen to 1500 words in a minute. It makes a lot of difference, a huge difference. That's the reason I say listening is very, very simple. We have made it complicated. Why? Because normally we listen to respond. Many of us listen to something because they want to talk back, or they need to give some answer, or they need to give some feedback or suggestion or advice. This is not what listening is. Listening is we need to listen to understand. The moment you have this concept clear, I am 100% sure that you will never listen to respond. You will always listen to understand. And the day you listen to understand, you will respond 200 times better and perfect and on the mark. You'll never go out of the topic or misplace the topic. That's the reason how you can get attentive is through your active listening. Now, to be an active listener, we need to be very sure of what we are listening. It's not hearing. We listen to understand. We take those information within. We understand ourselves and we make the people understand by giving them the correct response. We also make sure at times by probing certain questions that are we sure what we've heard about. So active listening plays a very, very important role in customer service. If you're in front of the customer and the customer is saying something and you're not an active listener, imagine what that customer would have to go through. I have been into trainings into hospitals and various clinics, and I have seen customers who are the patients actually. They suffer a lot because at the end of the day, they cannot get what they really wanted. There are big goof-ups happening at such places just because of a listening issue. Friends, 70% of the mistakes are made here at the stage 1 of communication. So this is the second and the most important aspect of customer service for all the employees, that you need to be attentive only by being an active listener all the time. Let's move on to the third part of the customer service skills. The third, of course, would be clear communication. Friends, listening is definitely the first and the foremost most important skill that you have to impose towards your customers, because at the end of the day, they are the people who have to get the benefits of their services. Now, how do we communicate with them? How do we give a response of what we've heard? Is only by clearly communicating to them. Many people communicate. There's a big difference between talking and communication. When we say talking, talking comprises of everything. Every small thing that you can talk is talking. But communication is talking and reaching your thoughts towards someone else's thought to see to it that the work is done. Friends, here is the time where many relationships go on a toss because they do not have a clear communication. They have a big communication gap. Why look at corporates and companies? Even if we look at our personal relationships, 70% to 80% of the relationships are disturbed because there is a communication gap. Friends, if we have to make a rapport or relationship with our customers for such a long time in our life, we need to be very clear at our communication. Communication plays a most important part in our life. To take an example, just think if you are a wonderful technical person, in whatever you do, you use your techniques amazingly well. But you've asked to give a presentation. Now, while you give a presentation, you are not able to present yourself. You're not able to talk clearly. Are they even going to like your presentation to give you the proposal or the project? They will not. How much ever good you are at your technical skills, you must know how to sell them. And that you can only do with your communication skills. So friends, communication has to be really clear, crisp, very simple, so that a person can understand exactly what you want to say. That's why I feel that this is the third most important skill that every employee should possess or impose on your customers. Friends, believe me, customer service is not something that you do. It's not your job. Your job is, at the end of the day, coming to the office for 9 hours. But what you do in the office is something that you need to build up your attitude. If you are a person who is not a customer-oriented person, I feel you are in a wrong position. Then you might as well change your position to something where you do not need to communicate and actively listen so well. So friends, if you want to be the best customer service person who can get rewarded as an employee for the best customer service, you need to be an active listener. You need to be amazing at your communication. Patience is the virtue. And let's see, what else do you require? Friends, the fourth most important customer service skill that everyone should have, or the most important point in the customer service skill, is having the complete knowledge of your product. Friends, imagine if you are sitting on a counter with some products in front of you and you do not have an idea about those products, or you do not know 100% about those products, how are you going to create your USPs? Your unique selling points could only come when you know the product in and out. Friends, always remember, when we are dealing with customers, where the customers are buying certain things, it can be a product, it can be a service, anything at all, we need to be 100% sure what are we selling to them. If we lack into the knowledge of the products, that means we are not capable of selling those products or services to our customers. It's as good as cheating them. It's not necessary that every aspect has to be told to the customer. Not necessary. But it's 100% necessary that every aspect has to be known by you as an employee. If you know your product and your service 200%, then you will be able to sell it for sure. Many a times, there are a lot of employees who are into selling. So they say selling managers or selling executives or sales executive or whatever they say, whatever they're called. They always come to me and they ask me that why are we not able to sell this particular product or sell our services? Whenever we go to the market and the first customer says no, we get demotivated, and then the entire day goes very bad. Every customer saying no to the service or product. I only tell them one simple thing. It's not the first thing in the morning that has gone wrong, so the day has gone wrong, or the last product in the day. It's just that you did not have adequate knowledge of the product for you to sell him confidently. Friends, confidence only comes over knowledge. If you have the entire knowledge of the product or services that you're selling or whatever you're doing, that's the only way you can keep up to your confidence. And a person who's confidently selling something, I am 100% sure that he's able to sell and close the deal very well. But if there is no confidence, it doesn't happen. And no confidence is simple only because the knowledge of the product or the service is not right. Friends, it's not only necessary to have knowledge of the product or service. That's definitely the major thing, or the aspect, I would say. But it's also important to know your brand, to know your company in and out about it in which you're working. There are many times when the customers turn around and they say, and they ask you questions like, oh, how long have you been in the market? And you're blank. Because you've joined the company just 6 months back. But the company is not 6 months back or 6 months old. It can be 60-year-old company. That doesn't mean because you've come new. Many people just say, take an escape and say that, ma'am, I've just recently joined 6 months back. That's not the answer. Answer would be simple if you would know, or if you would have the knowledge of everything at all. So at times, there are a lot of things which come up. You must be experiencing this in your daily routine. That's something which gives you a trigger, which explains you that you need to get things 100% sure. If you have 100% knowledge about your product, your brand, your services, I am 200% sure that you will be able to sell and you will be able to create a rapport with your customers forever. So friends, this is the very important aspect of every customer service, that you need to know your customers very well, their requirements very well, at the same time your product very well. Without that, I don't think knowing your customer would make any difference. Let's move on to the next topic. Friends, the fifth and the most important aspect as a behavioral skill, I would say, is your positive attitude. Your language. Now, your language cannot change if your attitude doesn't change. So first of all, we need to focus on our attitudes. Let's make our attitudes positive, and that's how we can also talk positive. Positive language is something that we have to practice, not only for our customers, for ourselves. At the end of the day, we are exposed to not only customers, but also our friends, colleagues, bosses, family, everyone that we communicate to. And if we have a positive attitude, we definitely can talk very well with a very positive language, no matter how aggressive or how angry we are at that point of time. A customer has chewed your brain since morning and it's afternoon, and you still expect that we should keep our cool? Yes, because he is not getting what he really wants, and that's what is annoying him, which must be 100 times more than it's annoying you. So imagine his temperament, and then you think, if you were in his shoe, put your legs in his shoe and imagine if you were in his place, how that customer would have felt, how you would have felt. So I would say patience definitely comes with a lot of positive attitude, and positive language comes with a lot of positive attitude. So patience and positivity is something that you have to impose to your customers 24/7 whenever you are put onto a customer. If you are in a customer service industry where you're doing a night shift, you go for a nap and suddenly there are customers barging on the telephone, you get up out of the sleep and you say, yes, hello, how can I help you? Your tone has to be the same, your positive language has to be the same. You cannot get tuned out. That's something where the basic quality of a customer service employee would come up. This kind of participation is reward winning for any employee who imposes this kind of customer service. Now, when I say positive language, what do you really mean by that? There are a lot of times where many employees never use slangs, never use slum language, never use bad language. But there are a lot of times when we turn into negative language. That's because maybe we are exhausted the whole day working, 9 hours. Maybe we are not in the correct frame of mind. Maybe we have come with a fight from home to the office. Whatever the reason is. This is why we come up with words like not, can't, impossible, not possible. It's simple. This is like a tonic. Stop using not, start using can, maybe, these kind of words which do not have negative pronunciations. For example, if a customer asks you that, can I have this whatever XYZ product? And if you feel that the product is not available with you and you are going to get the product only after a week. So instead of saying, I'm sorry, ma'am, it's not available right now and we'll get next week. Rather than saying that, we would say that, ma'am, I would love to give you the product. I was definitely very sure that it would have been here, but due to some reasons not available. Can I get you the product next week? Can we do that? So the same thing, if you put up in a very nicer way, very softer way, positively, the customer would definitely not go anywhere else and buy the product. Many customers have this nature or attitude that if the product is not somewhere, they don't wait. They go to the next place and they buy it. But if the customer likes you, he will wait for you. And we need to create that liking in patients or in customers or whatever. So friends, this is a simple tip from my end. Start practicing positivity. Leave your negativity. Stop using words like can't, not possible, never. Stop using words forever. These words are not necessary in your dictionary. Just throw them out and stop using these words. I am sure that after some time of practice, you will stop using these words forever. And if you stop using these words, naturally you talk positive. Let's move on to the next point where customer service is very important for the customers. Let's see for what it is so important, which an employee can impose. Friends, the sixth very important aspect of customer service is time management. Now, we spoke about a lot of things related to communication, related to attitude. Now we have to think of something which is related to manners and etiquette. Something that is very important right from the day starts till the day ends, which is your time. Friends, time is money. Once gone from hand, doesn't come back. We can still get the money back, but time, impossible. So we need to deal with our time very flexibly and very smartly. A lot of times you will see, friends, that a person or any employee would spend maximum of the time with the customers. Now, when I say this, I mean that if a customer is very friendly, maybe some employees just go down till the ground floor to just say bye to the customer. Many of them go down and receive the customers. Many of them unnecessarily personally chit-chat with the customer. Now, this is about spending time with your customers. There's a lot of difference between spending time and spending spare time with your customers. Now, all these practices are about your spare time. If you love customer service and you practice this, you can spare your spare time with the customer. But time management is not about spending your spare time. It's about spending quality time with your customer. And quality time means giving them the best, giving them the maximum in the most efficient time. So Make your time more effective by efficiently using it. It has to be effective at the end of the day of whatever you do. So time is very important for every customer. So if a work can be done in 5 minutes, see to it is done in 5 minutes. We cannot stretch it for 20 minutes. If a customer has to take something and go in 5 minutes, he has to take and go in 5 minutes. That doesn't mean you have to deal with the customer in a wrong way. In fact, that means that you can deal with more customers in that day. So friends, time management is something very important. We have to practice time management right from getting up in the morning to sleeping in the night. Friends, tell me how many of you all really make timetable of your daily activity or daily routine. There has to be a timetable which is stuck in front of you right from the time you get up till the time you sleep. That's something which is very important. Many a times even I get lost in the track of time because of my shoes, because of my modules, schedules. But at the end of the day, we have to get back on track. It's very important. It's important to get adequate sleep. It's important to have your lunch and meals on time. It's important to work on time. It's important to reach office on time. It's also important to reach home for the family on time. So all these things kept in a consideration, all that we are talking about is time management. Managing your time is managing your life. So friends, it's very important to have this also as your personal attitude rather than only thinking about the customers. It's good for you in any which way. Friends, the most important part of customer service is that we need to read our customers. So the seventh most important tip that I'm going to give you is read your customers. We as employees, every employee working in a customer service industry has to have the ability to read their customers. If you're not able to read your customers, you will not be able to give the best service to them. Now, there are two types of reading customers. One, when I say read your customers, is when they see you face to face. Without this speaking really what they want, you judge them or you assume. Of course, it has to be the right assumption or the correct judgment. I'm not saying be judgmental. What I'm trying to say is try to understand what the customer wants through his expressions, gestures, body postures, body language. Friends, have you seen deaf people, dumb and deaf people communicating? They communicate with signs. And imagine they can actually talk and properly have a conversation with those signs. They don't need to really talk, or they don't feel that they don't have that quality or they don't have that skill which will help them or put them back at any given point of time. They're just as normal as we are. They get into practice so much that they don't even feel that this is something that's not happening, or they start feeling that we are just like a normal person. So this is what I'm saying, where if they can talk, we can also understand. We can read their thoughts. We can read our customers' thoughts. So many a times when a customer comes to the desk and has an expression like, oh, you know what? So many a times you can see that when a customer comes to your desk and has an expression where he just tells you that, you know what, last time I taken the product, immediately you can make out that there was something wrong with the product. And they definitely have come to change, or they've come to exchange, or they've come to give it back. At the same given point of time, if you make it a point of saying, oh, is it? There was some problem? That means you've read the customer's expressions, you've read his body language. This is one kind of reading customer, when the customer is face to face. What about when the customer is not face to face? Now, this is a challenge. This is called blind communication. So when I say customer is not face to face, where the customer would be? Definitely he would be on a telephone. So while you talk to a customer on the telephone, there are a lot of times where the customers give you a hint of what that customer really wants through his tone, modulation, pitch, and voice. Many a times you would find, many a times you call your parents or you call your family or your friends, and if they are very low, you immediately ask them, oh, what happened today? Is there everything okay, or is there something wrong? This is why, because you know that person so well that through his voice, you could make out what he really wants. This is a second kind of communication where, again, reading that person's personality is very important. Now, when you read someone's personality, when you read someone's expressions, when you read someone's voice, that is the ability of you and how you could do well with your customer service. Now, how do you deal with this, or how do you read a customer, is when you psychologically and emotionally understand that person very well. Now, this is something like personality development or personality understanding. Understanding a person's personality is the way or the ability that you can put up to understand that person. So friends, it's very, very important to read your customers' thoughts, to read your customers' expressions, body languages, gestures, postures, and voice, modulations, pitches, and tone. Practice this from today. I am sure that you will be able to do great. If you've not done this before, let's start it from today. Let's see how well you can read your customers. Start doing with your family and friends. At least start reading their expressions and then move on to the customer so that you don't goof up. Misunderstanding and miscommunication is definitely bound to happen when you practice this. So don't get nervous or demotivated. Keep doing well. Don't make an attitude of prejudgment with this, because many a time people get into prejudgments and they become judgmental. So don't do that. Have a simple focus in mind that you need to read your customers' interests and your customers' personality, of course. Let's see what next we have on the board. The eighth tip, which I would again move on to the personality or your behavioral skills, would be having a calming presence. Now friends, keeping cool is something very important. The first thing that we said is patience. Patience definitely is not because your work is not done or your work has to be done. But it also comes to a stage where you need to be very calm, where the things are goofed up or where things are something which are not supposed to happen. Many a times, there are a lot of services that we sell to the customer and then they react back very badly. Now, these services which were not gone due to some technical issues or some errors correctly to the customer, now this is a time where the customer comes back, and according to the company policies, these services or products couldn't be taken back. Here is the time where we do not have to lose our patience for sure, but we do not have to lose our calm also. Our calm patience and our calm presence, our personality, ourselves itself will help us to help the customer to be cool. Friends, many a time you would see the more we get calm, the more the customer gets angry, especially in hospitals. There are a lot of times where in hospitals, there is a patient who is a customer to the hospital, of course. There are employees who are treating the patients. But at some given point of time, there is something that's not right happened for any kind of service. And the customer's family comes barging on the management or come barging on the employee. That particular given point of time, even if we cannot do too much, we can still do one simple thing, is just be calm. Be calm and have a presence of cool so that the customer cannot react worst. Definitely is reacting badly at that time, but at least it cannot go bad to worst. Friends, it is a very simple logic. The more calm attitude you practice, the more better you will be in your work. No matter whether you're into customer service or your daily routine life. Just imagine, to give you a small example, if you're talking to your child, or if you have kids and you're talking to your kids in a very aggressive manner, all right, you talk to them in a very high tone all the time, you use slang words most of the time, you know what you get in back or in return? You get the same thing in return. That baby or that child, when grows, along with him grows his negative attitude, along with him grows a very short-tempered attitude. That is why many a times parents complain that my child is very short-tempered, he gets frustrated immediately, he gives up things, and he also gets angry. I have seen a lot of parents coming and telling me that my child screams on the top of his voice if he doesn't get something. I'm also a career counselor, so whenever I see students and the parents come back to me and tell me that, ma'am, my child keeps shouting all day and I don't know why he's built up that attitude. I just simply ask them one simple question: are you as a mother like this, or is his father like this? Either or the parent is like that. That's the reason the child has also taken up that quality of the parent. Friends, children learn only what you teach them or only what they see around. They cannot learn anything else. This is one simple and classic example of getting your attitude to others. If you are calm and you're patient, I am sure your kids would also be calm and patient. If you don't yell and shout, they will also not yell and shout. So if a baby's personality can be groomed at that level, at that stage, at that age, a fully matured customer definitely will change his views or his attitude looking at your attitude and looking at your presence. So friends, it's very important to impose a very calm presence in front of your customers, no matter how much the customer is impatient or aggressive. This is one simple and logical tip that I would like to give you, that please keep your presence and appearance very calm. Let's move on to the next tip. Friends, the most surprising tip of the day today that I'm going to tell you for customer service is be capable of handling surprises. You should have the ability to handle all sorts of surprise. Surprise can come in form of anything. They can come in form of a surprise or they can come in form of a shock. So I would say two things. You have to be capable. You have to have the ability to handle all kinds of surprises, whether they're happy or whether they're shocking. For giving you instances and examples, I would tell you one positive instance and one negative instance. When I say a positive instance, you might just give a customer a product which you don't have a lot of idea about, but you've sold the product because you've just read the features of the product and you were able to explain it very well to the customer. The customer heard you and, looking at your personality, has taken the product home. Now this was a surprise for you any which ways, that the customer has taken something where you do not know a lot about the product, but you could still sell the product. Now the customer goes home, applies the product, if it is a beauty cream or whatever, and then he applies the product. He's extremely happy with the product. He calls you back to give you feedback, or you call him to take the feedback, and the customer says it was amazing, fantastic, and you really knew in and out about the product. Now this is like a surprise to you, that wow, I mean, this is what not supposed to have happened. Now because of this, again, the management has thought about maybe promoting you because you've done a great job. So these are some surprises, some bundle of surprise that you also need to have the ability to handle. Now these are good surprises, of course. Now let's go to the shocking point. Now the shocking point is that when you sell a product to a customer, now the customer has come back to you getting some reaction on his face. Now, this is shocking, where you really knew about the product, you had the knowledge, you gave the customer the entire knowledge. This was not supposed to happen, but it happened. Happening doesn't need a reason. It just happens. And he gets some reaction on his face, and the customer comes back barging on you, saying that what have you done to his skin? Now, this given point of time, you really are confused. You do not know, you have mixed expression, you do not know what are you supposed to say or how are you supposed to react. Now, if you have the capability of handling this kind of shock, I am sure that you will be best at your customer service. Now, here, definitely you will have to first make the patient so cool and relaxed that we can help you even if things have gone wrong. We will see to it that we can put things back in place. No matter whatever, we can go beyond our lines to help you. Has to be the sentences, or those has to be the phrases that should come out from you very assertively and very positively to the customer. Now once that is done, now the management has understood that there is something that was goofed up by you, but you've repaired it. So they see you stable. Now this is one kind of shocking instance that has come up which was not supposed to. So friends, you have to have the ability to handle both these kinds of surprises. One can be a positive surprise and one can be a negative surprise. Normally when you deal with these kind of surprises, there are three major questions which are asked. What, how, and why. Keep yourself calm, cool, practice all these skills that I have just spoken and I'm again going to speak about, and definitely have the ability to handle all the surprises. Friends, half of them, once you start practicing, ability of handling surprises would come hand in hand. So I would like to tell you that if you've not practiced or if you're not preaching this, start it from today. It's a wonderful way of dealing with things, because any given point of time, I'm not only talking about customer service, you will be in a right position. If you practice this, you can handle any kind of surprises in life. They would not take your world upside down. Let's move on to the next tip. Friends, the 10th most important tip for customer service for all the employees is tenacity. Now, tenacity is something which I would also pronounce it tensity. Tensity is something which deals with things never to be given up. So if you're a fighter, if you're a constant struggler, if you're a constant fighter, you can fight with situations very well, where there comes a point where you never give up. Friends, there are a lot of people like you who, half of them can definitely not give up things and half of them give up things very easily. Why do we give up things easily? Do you have any idea about it? We give up things easily because we think that we cannot do this. The word cannot itself is so demotivating that how would you ever go ahead in life? It's very, very negative. That's the reason I keep saying you have to remove all these words from your dictionary. Words like cannot, can, never, can't, not possible, impossible, all these words have to be thrown out of the dictionary, because these words do not allow you or do not give you the strength to fight back, and you normally give up the battle and you come back home. Never give up the battle. You can give up a day or two, but you cannot give up working. If you're not feeling well, we can cope up the next day, but if we keep falling sick, we cannot cope up. That's a very important thing to understand. So friends, never give up. You should have an attitude of tensity where you are 100% sure that you will get back to the customer with the resolution, no matter how much time it takes or how much delay it has happened, but you will definitely try. And you should keep trying until things are online or in an alignment. Giving up is very boring. Giving up is something which is a loser's attitude, and we are not losers, right? So never give up, friends. There are a lot of times when you feel that, oh my God, this customer always comes, he just doesn't like to look at my face. That day, make it a challenge that next time when he comes, he would only and only talk to me. And that time, normally what happens when an irritating customer comes, suppose if that customer has come the last time and we had a bad patch with the customer, what do? We send our colleagues ahead and say, oh my God, this customer has come back and he's not great for me. So let me just go somewhere for a tea break. You please handle this customer. Maybe he'll be good for you. What have we done? We found an escape. We found how we can give up, which is a very wrong way of dealing with customers or anyone for that matter. What about a customer? What about people that go home and cannot face their parents for whatever XYZ reason? That's a very demotivating thing that you do at the end of the day. Escape is not the solution. Escape is just escape. You can only escape for some days, for some hours. You cannot escape for lifetime. So friends, never have people in life where you cannot face them. The moment you see someone and you run, that means you've lost the battle. So never give up, never lose your battles, never find an escape. Think of how you can fight. Think of being a fighter rather than just moving out of the battlefield. So friends, this is one of a very important attitude that you need to impose towards your customer, which will reward you as the best customer service person. Friends, the 11th most important and very necessary ability is closing ability. Not everyone is capable of closing the deal very well. So when I say closing, is not really selling and wrapping it up. No, I'm not saying closing the sales call or closing the sales deal. What I mean to say is closing a conversation with the customer. So many of them do not understand what they have to say while they close the conversation. So many times you'll see that when on a telephonic call, when you're talking with the customer, you fumble while keeping the phone. You don't understand what has to be done. Okay, ma'am, I'll see you soon. And we fumble this way. So there are a lot of phrases, there are a lot of words, there are a lot of empathy sentences that you can find on Google. Google is our best friend. So you can find all these and you can find closing phrases. Now, these are the phrases where you can use on telephone, personally, on emails. Every point of communication has to be properly closed. The closing of the conversation is extremely important. Opening and closing play a very important role to a person's personality. Whenever a conversation is open, it has to be opened up in a very systematic way. When it has to be closed, it has to have a style of closing. Now, the opening and closing conversation has or shows or gives an impact to that person's personality. The ability to properly open and close a conversation, that's something that we've get the deals on the table. Many a times you come back without selling the product. Suppose if you go to the market, especially the sales executive, and they go and they want to sell a product to someone. Now the customers can be anyone and they come back without selling the product. Say the customer says no, right now he doesn't need the product. But if your opening and closing ability is strong and the customer has loved the way you have communicated and loved the way you've opened and closed the deal, that day, okay, the sale was not done, but definitely you will be called again and then you can actually have better sale. So it's not about your sale closures, it's about your conversation closure, it's about your personality closure. How open and close can you be excellent and effective towards your customers? Believe me, friends, 90% of your work is done when you have the best ability to open and close your deal or a call. If you have the correct words, the correct vocabulary, correct form of sentences in the right place, I am sure that you will be able to do wonders. Now, how do you have this in the right place? First of all, know them, what they are. So you get these empathy sentences, you get these phrases on the net. Go to the net rather than just seeing a movie or randomly doing something useless. Go to these things and start using your time, utilizing your time for these things which are used on daily basis. Start practicing them on daily basis and I am sure they'll come in your blood. And once you start talking in the same way, no matter how hatred you have for these phrases, you will not be able to not talk them. So friends, this is a very important tip for your own personality, your own grooming, your own style. Suppose if today I'm talking in front of the camera, I don't open my topic or I don't give a good introduction of my topic. How are you supposed to come back to me, or how do you see my videos? You will not like my videos. I'll not have so many views. So for me, it's very important, rather than asking the views, I would rather earn my views. How do I do that? By having a personality where I have a proper opening and a proper closing, and a personality which everyone would love by certain body languages, which I'm doing so, I hope so. So this was the second last tip of customer service skills which every employee should impose. And let's move on to the last tip of the day for customer service skills. Friends, my last tip to all the employees out there is, first of all, be an active learner. Willingness to learn is the most important factor which will take you ahead in life. It's not compulsory, it's not necessary that this kind of willingness is only when the customer is in front of you. It has to be your nature. As I told you, customer service is an attitude, is a nature, it's not work. So all these abilities have to be a part of your nature. Willingness to learn is something which will take you to heights. Friends, I see a lot of people every day when I do trainings. I go to these workshops, I conduct workshops, I conduct training sessions. At that point of time, I meet a lot of participants. I say I have 50 participants at a time. Now, imagine I am learning 50 different things from 50 personalities. So they come to me at one person to learn from one person, but I get to learn from 50 different personalities. Imagine if I have kept my eyes and ears shut of putting back myself, of thinking that I know everything, I'm an intellectual, I don't need to learn anything from them. Friends, you'll never be able to go ahead in life. But if you can learn from everyone, all the positive aspects, imagine if I learned from 50 people 50 good things, I am full with positivity. So, friends, that is how you can build up a positive attitude. And I would suggest or advise to you that you have to be an active learner. You have to be a willing learner. Willingness to learn is very important. Every time you meet someone, you learn something new. And friends, of course, please learn something positive. There's no sense of learning negative and coming back home. This is the best thing in life that you can do. Wherever you go, your knowledge will keep increasing. There is never a stop in life where you say, oh my God, I have learned everything in life. Is there everything that you know? No matter how much a person is intelligent or intellect, he will not be able to tell you that he knows everything. So any given point of time, whether it's your superior, your inferior, whether he's your boss, your colleague, your team member, or whatever, it doesn't depend on how big or how small the person. Not necessarily you can only learn from parents and from bosses. You can also learn a lot from your kids. So every personality teaches you something or the other. What we need to do is we need to be willing. If you are not willing to learn, no matter how much you get to learn, you will not be able to improve. Learning means improving every day. So friends, have these kinds of abilities within yourself. As a person, as a personality, you will bloom up someday. I am sure that you're all doing that, but we can try it harder. So these were 12 tips which I would give each and every employee that is listening to me, so that you can have an award-winning customer service skill. I congratulate all the employees who've won these kinds of awards and certificates. It means a lot. You've earned a real good lifetime personality for yourself. So friends, thank you so much for watching this video. Please stay tuned to Ikeda and keep subscribing to our channel. Thank you so much.